This is Nathan Smith from Fake News Watch, and today we're looking at NBC News' coverage, heavy air quotes around coverage, of Howard Schultz 2020 run. Will he run? Won't he? This article doesn't really talk about that. Instead, it decides that it's going to be a hit piece based on an NBA club. So let's dig into this sterling example of fake news. Schultz's reign as an NBA owner was a fiasco. Would a 2020 campaign be any different? Seattle Supersonics fans say that ex-Starbucks CEO failed at communicating, managing, and working with lawmakers. They blame him for their team leaving town. Wow. Well, Mr. Alan Smith is going to give us the lowdown on why this obviously disqualifies Howard Schultz from running for president. When Howard Schultz spoke last week in Seattle as part of his nationwide book tour, some of the loudest protesters weren't Democrats criticizing him for threatening to run as president as an independent, potentially being a spoiler and helping Donald Trump win a second term. Oh, yeah, sure. It wasn't them. No. They were basketball fans, still enraged by the billionaire's role in the devastating departure of the Seattle Supersonics, the city's NBA team. Wow. Well, if that doesn't disqualify you from the presidency, I don't know what does. Angry NBA fans. Boy, let's dig in and see what the meat of this claim is. Now, before that, let's go through this little tiny paragraph where this article tells you what it's actually about. For Democrats, Schultz has been public enemy number one for a week. For Sonics fans, he's been public enemy number one for a decade. That's really what it's about. The shill news media cannot allow Howard Schultz to run because they know that the Democrat will certainly lose if he does. That seems almost certain. He will take a substantial fraction of the Democrat base. Now, we're going to start off the meat of this article with a totally unvalidated statement that should not have been written. The team supporters believe he messed up big time. That's not something anyone can say. Because you take a group that does not exist in amalgam and then put words into their mouths, real beliefs, and then you write an article about that. That's just great. That is total fake news. And that's one of the ways that you can tell. This sentence gives it away that it's fake news. Because we have an imaginary group with an imaginary opinion. Where it's really Alan Smith's. Oh, good last name. All right. Schultz clashed with the team's star player, and then he briefly fought for a new or renovated arena, but abandoned the effort once it became clear that Seattle and Washington State were not interested in providing significant public funding. All right, article, let me explain how this works. If the city doesn't give the team a new arena, the team moves to a place that does give it a new arena. It happens with NBA. It happens with NFL. This happens all the time. This is a non-story. As a Sonics fan, I would bet Howard Schultz has a better shot at Oklahoma's electoral votes than Washington's. Yeah, the reason for that is because the team was sold to Oklahoma. Now, the rest of the quotes in this article come from the producer of Sonicsgate, which is a documentary about the Sonics leaving and Howard Schultz ownership of the team. Brown added that others involved deserve blame too, but Schultz sits atop the pyramid of villains. Wow. Wow. Well, if that doesn't disqualify you from the presidency, I don't know what does. Being atop the pyramid of villains. Unlike the Starbucks success story, Schultz run as Sonics owner is considered by many to be an abject failure. Who are these many? You want to quote them? Other than this one guy who did a documentary, does anyone care? Does anyone outside Washington State care? The people in Oklahoma seem to have a positive feeling, and he did end up selling it, so let's look. Payton, who did not return a request for comment from NBC News, said in Sonicsgate that Schultz tried to run a basketball team like his coffee business. Payton added that Sonics fans were punished by Schultz's attitude towards players, with their conflict ultimately leading to the franchise players' exodus from Seattle. Off the court, Schultz struggled to convince lawmakers and build public support to revamp the Sonics home, the Key Arena, or to invest in a new stadium. Not long after negotiations fell apart, Schultz sold the team to a group led by Oklahoma businessman Clay Bennett for $350 million. Today, the Thunder are worth $1.25 billion. So what we're seeing here is that Schultz bought the team, couldn't get Seattle to play, sold it to Oklahoma, and now the team's worth a whole bunch. So, for the team, going from being worth $350 million to $1.25 billion, the move to Oklahoma was a good move. So what this article is saying is that the Sonics move played out well for the team. Wow, that's just... He said people are right to blame him for the loss of the franchise. Almost everyone blamed me, and after some initial denial, I realized they were right to do so, Schultz wrote, adding, the sharpest pain hit me not when I'm publicly insulted, but when I'm walking or driving and see someone wearing a Supersonics t-shirt or cap. In a Seattle Times op-ed, he wrote that his sale of the Sonics is the biggest regret of my professional life. Wow. A spokesperson told NBC News that Schultz would not have anything more to add to the subject. What else is there to add to it? There's no reason for this article. It's just a hit piece, and it's an ineffective hit piece. You would have to be so far down the confirmation bias road, just looking for reasons to hate Howard Schultz, that where this article would make any kind of sense to you. I think the imagery he left behind was worse than the actual fact that the Sonics left. Pointing to the hit Schultz public image in Seattle took after the Sonics left town. This is great. This is Alan Smith. Just amazing job. Let's see how he finishes it off. Schultz says he's the guy that can finally bring the whole country together in the same way he was going to bring a championship to Seattle and be the public trust guy who kept the club in Seattle, Reed said. The way it went down and how he allowed all of these things to happen is just indicative of the kind of leader he would be. Well, if the opinion of a Seattle Supersonics super fan that Howard Schultz sucks and can't do anything good doesn't convince you, I mean, I don't know what would. So, in terms of fake news, obviously, this entire article is a giant pile of fake news. It's obviously biased, and it's frankly malicious. Its only purpose is to try to sling some mud at Howard Schultz. And that's the thing about fake news. A lot of it isn't actually lies. Like this article is mostly true, but the way it's put together turns it into fake news. Alright, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you're subscribed, click the like button, and make sure you click that little bell after you hit subscribe so that you get notified whenever we upload a video. Thanks, see you next time.